The morning Emma's class field trip changed everything started like any other Thursday. I'd taken the day off from my job at the engineering firm to chaperone 27 second graders to the Marine Discovery Aquarium. Emma had been bouncing off the walls for weeks about it. "Daddy, we get to see where Mommy volunteers," she'd said at breakfast, practically vibrating with excitement. "Mrs. Chen says we might even see her feeding the fish." Lisa had smiled across the kitchen table, adjusting her reading glasses as she scrolled through her phone. "I won't be there today, sweetheart. Thursday isn't my volunteer day, remember? Saturdays only." "But maybe they'll show us your station," Emma insisted. "Maybe they will," Lisa said, reaching over to smooth down Emma's unruly hair, the same dark curls she'd inherited from me. "Make sure Daddy takes lots of pictures." I'd watched this exchange with the same warm feeling I always got watching my girls together. 12 years of marriage, and Lisa still made my heart skip when she smiled. She'd been volunteering at the aquarium for almost 3 years now, every Saturday without fail. 9 to 4, like clockwork. She'd come home glowing with stories about the otters, the educational programs, the birthday parties she'd helped host. "Paul, you're daydreaming again," Lisa said, snapping her fingers playfully in front of my face. "Earth to Paul Rodriguez." "Sorry, just thinking about how lucky I am," I said, meaning it. She'd rolled her eyes but smiled. "Save the cheese for your sandwich, engineer boy." That was 3 hours ago. Now, standing in the aquarium's lobby with Emma's sticky hand in mine and 26 other kids orbiting around us like hyperactive planets, I was about to learn exactly how unlucky I was. "Welcome to Marine Discovery!" An elderly woman at the information desk beamed at our group. Her volunteer badge read, "Dolores, 15 years of service." "Are you here for the field trip?" "Yes, ma'am," I said, herding the kids into something resembling a line. "Jefferson Elementary, Mrs. Chen's class." "Wonderful. And which parent are you?" "Paul Rodriguez." I smiled, couldn't help the pride in my voice. "My wife Lisa volunteers here on Saturdays. She's told me so much about this place." Dolores's face transformed like the sun coming out from behind clouds. "Lisa Rodriguez? Oh my goodness, how is she? We've missed her so much." The lobby noise faded to white static. "I'm sorry, what?" "Lisa, such a wonderful volunteer. Always so dedicated. How's she been? Is everything okay?" My mouth was moving, but words weren't coming out. Emma tugged on my khakis. "Daddy." She's fine," I managed. "She's here every Saturday." Dolores's cheerful expression shifted to confusion. "Here? Oh, honey, we haven't seen Lisa since." She turned to flip through a large binder on her desk. "Let me check. January 15th was her last logged day. That's nearly 4 months ago. We figured she must have had something come up with family. You know how life gets." 4 months, I repeated. The words tasted like copper in my mouth. "Daddy, I need to use the bathroom," Emma whispered urgently. "Yes, 4 months. Is she okay?" We sent a few emails but never heard back. Martha from the touch tank was especially worried. They used to have lunch together every week. My engineering brain kicked in, the part that solved problems for a living. Facts. I needed facts. Could you check again? Maybe there's been a mistake with the logging system?" Dolores looked sympathetic, but shook her head as she showed me the volunteer roster. Clean, organized columns. Lisa Rodriguez. Last entry, January 15th. 4 months and 6 days ago. "Mr. Rodriguez?" Mrs. Chen appeared at my elbow. "Is everything all right?" "We need to join the tour group." Yeah, sorry, just catching up with an old friend. I forced a smile that felt like broken glass. Emma, let's find that bathroom quick. In the men's room, while Emma was in the stall, I gripped the sink and stared at my reflection. 35 years old, laugh lines starting to show, the beginnings of gray at my temples that Lisa teased me about. My distinguished engineer, she'd say. Where had my wife been going every Saturday for 4 months? Daddy, the toilet's making weird noises, Emma called out. It's okay, baby, just finish up. I splashed cold water on my face. There had to be an explanation. Maybe she'd switched to a different location. Maybe there was another marine discovery branch. Maybe... All done! Emma emerged, hands dripping. Can we see the sharks now? First, we dry our hands properly, I said automatically, lifting her up to reach the paper towels. Then sharks. The tour was torture. 90 minutes of watching Emma's face light up at every exhibit while my mind ran through possibilities like a computer processing code. The guide talked about ecosystems and conservation. I heard white noise. Kids pressed their faces against glass tanks. I saw Lisa leaving the house every Saturday morning in her aquarium polo shirt and khaki shorts, volunteer badge clipped to her belt, lunch packed in the insulated bag for the volunteer break room. Mr. Rodriguez? The tour guide, barely out of college with an infectious enthusiasm for marine life, was looking at me expectantly. Emma's asking if her mom really feeds the big turtles. My mommy volunteers here, Emma announced to the group. Every Saturday. That's wonderful, the guide said. What's her name? I might know her. Lisa Rodriguez, Emma said proudly. The guide's face went blank. I don't think I know her, but I'm new. Only been here 8 months. She probably volunteers with a different department. 8 months. Lisa should have been here for 32 Saturdays during that time. Daddy looks sick, one of Emma's classmates observed with the brutal honesty of 7-year-olds. I'm fine, I lied. Just the smell of fish. Mrs. Chen gave me a concerned look but kept the tour moving. At the touch tank, while kids squealed over starfish and sea urchins, I texted Lisa. How's your day going? 3 dots appeared immediately. Good, busy morning at work. You surviving the field trip? Yeah, kids love it. The aquarium is amazing, isn't it? Can't wait for Saturday. They're getting new seahorses. I stared at her response. She was lying. Casually, easily, completely lying to me. That's exciting. Hey, Mrs. Chen at the front desk says hi. 3 dots, then nothing. Then, Mrs. Chen? I don't think I know her. The elderly lady. Dolores? Oh, of course. Tell her I said hi back. Brain fog today, LOL. Except Dolores had specifically said she worked the front desk on Thursdays and Fridays only. Lisa wouldn't know her, unless she'd been here recently, which she hadn't. For 4 months. The rest of the field trip blurred together. Sharks and rays and a sea lion show that had the kids screaming with delight. Emma held my hand, chattering about every creature, asking if Mommy had seen them too, if Mommy had touched them, if Mommy knew their names. Mommy knows all the fish, she told her best friend Sophia with absolute certainty. By the time we loaded back onto the school bus, my shirt was soaked with sweat despite the aquarium's aggressive air conditioning. Emma fell asleep against my shoulder on the ride back, worn out from excitement. I stared out the window at Miami traffic and tried to make sense of a marriage I thought I understood. That evening played out like a stage performance where only I knew the script was wrong. Lisa came home at 5:30, kissed me hello, asked about the field trip. She listened to Emma's breathless recap over dinner, nodding at all the right places, asking questions about the exhibits. "Did you see the volunteer stations?" she asked casually, cutting Emma's chicken into smaller pieces. "No, we just did the regular tour," I said, watching her face. Nothing. No relief, no tension. "But Dolores at the front desk said to tell you hi." "That's nice," Lisa said. "More green beans, Emma." "She seemed worried about you," I pressed. "Said she hasn't seen you in a while." Lisa laughed, the same laugh that had made me fall in love with her at a mutual friend's barbecue 13 years ago. "She must be confusing me with someone else. I see her every week. Well, not her specifically, but, the staff rotates." "Right," I said. "The staff rotates." After Emma was in bed, I sat in my home office, laptop open, staring at our shared Google Calendar. Every Saturday for the past 3 years. Lisa, aquarium volunteer 9 to 4 inches, color-coded in cheerful blue, rock-solid routine. She'd missed exactly 3 Saturdays in 3 years, once for Emma's flu, once for her mother's birthday, once for our anniversary trip to Key West. But for the last 4 months, she'd left the house every single Saturday morning. Polo shirt, khaki shorts, volunteer badge, lunch packed, kiss on my cheek. "See you at 4." I pulled up our credit card statements. Nothing unusual. No hotel charges, no restaurant bills on Saturdays, no shopping sprees. Our bank accounts showed normal activity. Her car's GPS. I stopped. Was I really going to track my wife's car? "Hey, you coming to bed?" Lisa appeared in the doorway wearing one of my old college t-shirts, legs bare. "It's almost 11. "Just finishing up some work stuff," I said, closing the laptop. She padded over, wrapped her arms around my shoulders from behind, vanilla shampoo and the faint scent of her perfume. "You've been quiet tonight. Everything okay?" I turned in the chair, pulled her onto my lap, studied her face. The same brown eyes that had looked at me on our wedding day, promising forever. The same gentle smile that had gotten me through my father's death, Emma's difficult birth, the stress of starting my own firm. "Everything's fine," I lied. "Just tired from wrangling kids all day." She kissed me softly. My hero. "Come on, let's go to bed." That night, while Lisa slept peacefully beside me, her breathing even and untroubled, I stared at the ceiling and planned. Friday passed in a haze of normalcy. Work, dinner, helping Emma with homework, watching some mindless TV show Lisa liked about home renovations. I kept waiting for her to slip up, to reveal something, but she was perfect. The perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect liar. "I might go shopping after volunteering tomorrow," she mentioned casually as we got ready for bed. "Macy's is having a sale." "Want me to drop you off at the aquarium?" I offered, testing. "Save you the gas?" The briefest hesitation. "No, that's okay. I might carpool with Sharon from the education department. Haven't decided yet." "Sharon?" "I've mentioned her before. Redhead? 2 kids in high school?" I hadn't heard of any Sharon, but I nodded. "Right. Sharon." Saturday morning arrived like a dental appointment you've been dreading. Lisa was up at 7:30, humming in the shower. I pretended to sleep, watching through slitted eyes as she dressed in the familiar uniform. Polo shirt with the Marine Discovery logo. Khaki shorts, white sneakers. She clipped her volunteer badge to her belt, gathered her purse and the insulated lunch bag. "I'm heading out," she whispered, kissing my forehead. "Emma's at her sleepover until noon. Enjoy sleeping in." "Have fun with the fish." "Always do." I heard her car start in the driveway, waited 5 minutes. Then I was up, dressed, grabbing my keys. My truck was less conspicuous than the Tesla for this kind of thing. This kind of thing. Was I really doing this? Yes. Yes, I was. I stayed 3 cars back, years of Miami driving making it easy to follow without being obvious. She took the expected route at first, heading toward the aquarium. My heart started to hope. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe she'd switched locations. Maybe. She passed the aquarium exit without slowing down, continued north on I-95, through downtown, past the airport exit. Where the hell was she going? At the MacArthur Causeway, she turned east toward the beach, but not South Beach. She was heading to the Marina District, Pelican Bay Marina, where the real money kept their toys. 100-foot yachts and cigarette boats that cost more than houses. I pulled into a parking garage across from the marina entrance, took a ticket, found a spot with a clear view. Watched Lisa use a key card I'd never seen to enter the member parking lot. She walked confidently, no hesitation. She'd been here before, many times. My phone buzzed. Emma's sleepover mom sending a photo of the girls eating pancakes. I sent back a smiley emoji with shaking hands. Lisa was walking down the dock now, past boats with names like Liquid Asset and Siesta and Daddy's Money. She turned down Dock 7 toward the larger yachts, stopped at a gleaming white sunseeker that had to be 60 feet long. Second Chance painted an elegant script on the stern. A man emerged from the cabin. Tall, silver-haired, the kind of tan that came from owning a yacht, not working on one. Expensive polo shirt, pressed shorts, deck shoes that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. He smiled at my wife like she was the best thing he'd see all day. Then he kissed her. Not a friendly peck, not a European greeting. A kiss. The kind of kiss I gave Lisa when Emma was at sleepovers and we had the house to ourselves. His hand on her lower back, pulling her close, her arms around his neck. I was out of the truck before I realized I'd moved, then stopped. What was I going to do? Storm over there? Make a scene? Emma didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve that. They were boarding the yacht now. Lisa handed him the insulated bag, the lunch she'd packed for the volunteer break room. He helped her aboard like a gentleman, like she belonged there, like they'd done this 100 times. Because they had. Every Saturday for 4 months. I sat back in my truck, engine off, air conditioning off, sweating through my shirt in the Miami heat. Watched them untie the lines. Watched the yacht pull away from the dock, heading for open water. Watched my marriage disappear into the Atlantic. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Rodriguez! This is Dolores from the aquarium. I'm sorry to bother you, but I've been thinking since yesterday. Is Lisa okay? Really? We're just so worried. She's fine, I heard myself say. She found another volunteer opportunity, one that suited her better. Oh, well, that's wonderful. We'll miss her, but I understand. Where is she volunteering now? I watched the yacht growing smaller in the distance, somewhere with boats. After I hung up, I sat in that sweltering truck for another hour, planning, thinking, deciding. I could confront her when she got home, have the fight, listen to excuses or denials or maybe even the truth. Pack a bag or watch her pack one. Divide up 12 years of life together. Split custody of Emma. Become another divorce statistic. Or, I pulled up the Coast Guard number on my phone. Stared at it. Miami Coast Guard responded to everything from drug runners to refugee boats to maritime accidents, but also to suspicious activity, potential theft, unauthorized use of vessels. My wife didn't own a yacht. As far as I knew, she didn't know anyone who did. And she was supposed to be volunteering at an aquarium, not sailing into international waters with a man who wasn't her husband. I dialed. Coast Guard Station, Miami Beach. This is Petty Officer Williams. Yes, I need to report a possible stolen vessel. My wife just boarded a yacht at Pelican Bay Marina with an unknown man. She was supposed to be at work, and I'm concerned she might be in danger. Sir, is this a domestic situation? I don't know what it is, I said truthfully. She told me she was volunteering at the Marine Discovery Aquarium. They haven't seen her in 4 months. Now she's on a yacht with a stranger. 60-foot Sunseeker called Second Chance just left Dock 7 about an hour ago. Can you describe the individuals? I gave detailed descriptions. Added, she's wearing a Marine Discovery Aquarium volunteer shirt, but the aquarium confirmed she doesn't work there anymore. And you're concerned for her safety? I'm concerned about a lot of things, I said. But yes, she's never mentioned knowing anyone with a yacht. For all I know, she could be in trouble. It wasn't a lie. Not really. She was definitely in trouble. She just didn't know it yet. We'll send a cutter to check it out, Petty Officer Williams said. Can you come to the marina? We may need you to identify your wife. I'll be there. I drove to the marina's main office, showed my ID to security. My wife might be on a stolen boat. Coast Guard is checking it out. The security guard's eyes widened. Stolen? From here? That's what we're finding out. Within minutes, I was in the marina office with the manager, a deeply tanned woman named Catherine who looked like she'd been born in deck shoes. The Coast Guard called, she said, fingers flying over her computer. Second Chance is registered to Richard Hartwell. He's a member here, investment banker, owns a firm downtown. Richard Hartwell, I repeated, committing it to memory. Does he have authorized crew? She pulled up more records. His wife Diane is authorized, that's it. No one named Lisa Rodriguez? No, sir. My phone buzzed. The Coast Guard. Mr. Rodriguez? We've intercepted the vessel about 3 miles offshore. Your wife is aboard with the owner. She's not happy about the interception. I imagine not, I said. Is she safe? She's safe. She's claiming you're harassing her, saying this is a domestic dispute. Officer, I have divorce papers in my truck. Had them drawn up yesterday. Would you mind if I serve them when you bring them back to dock? There was a pause. That's between you and her, sir. We're just here to ensure maritime safety. ETA to dock is 20 minutes. I walked back to my truck, pulled out the manila envelope I'd picked up from my lawyer friend yesterday afternoon. Emergency filing, he'd called it. Just in case. By the time the Coast Guard cutter was escorting the yacht back to dock, a small crowd had gathered. Rich people loved drama as much as anyone, and a Coast Guard interception was prime entertainment. Several people had their phones out, recording. I positioned myself at the base of the dock, envelope in hand. Catherine from the marina stood nearby with 2 security guards. The Saturday afternoon sun beat down mercilessly, but I barely felt it. The yacht pulled in slowly, Coast Guard officers flanking it. I could see Lisa on deck, her face a mask of fury and humiliation. Richard Hartwell stood beside her, his silver hair disheveled, expensive shirt rumpled. Lisa stepped off first, shoulders squared, ready for battle. Then she saw me. Paul! What the hell do you think you're— Hi, honey, I said pleasantly. Good day at the aquarium? The crowd tittered. Someone definitely had their phone out. This is insane, she hissed. You called the Coast Guard? Are you out of your mind? Probably, I admitted, holding out the envelope. But sane enough to have these drawn up. You've been served. She stared at the papers like they might bite her. You can't be serious. 4 months of Saturdays, Lisa. That's 16 fishing trips. Except you haven't been fishing, have you? Unless that's what we're calling it now. Sir, ma'am, we need to check some paperwork, one of the Coast Guard officers interrupted. Mr. Hartwell, we need to see registration and verify all passengers are authorized. Richard's face went from red to pale. This is harassment. I'll sue. For what? I asked conversationally. I reported my wife on a boat with a stranger. She doesn't own a yacht. The aquarium where she supposedly volunteers hasn't seen her in months. I raised my voice slightly, addressing the growing crowd. Anyone here know why an aquarium volunteer needs a yacht? Paul, please, Lisa said, her voice lower now. Not here. Let's go home and talk. Like we talked last night? When you told me about Sharon from the education department? Or when you said you saw Dolores every week? I turned to the crowd. Dolores says hi, by the way. She's worried about you. The whole aquarium is. Richard tried to retreat to his yacht, but I wasn't done. Hey, Richard! Does your wife know my wife is your Saturday crew? He froze. The crowd's whispers grew louder. That's enough, Lisa snapped. You've made your point. Have I? Because I'm just getting started. I looked at Catherine. Is my wife on the authorized crew list for this yacht? Catherine shook her head. No, sir. That's a violation of marina rules. 4 months of Saturdays, I said again. That's a lot of violations. A woman's voice cut through the crowd. Richard? What's going on? The crowd parted like the Red Sea. A woman in designer resort wear emerged from a neighboring yacht, champagne flute in hand. Perfectly coiffed blonde hair, diamonds glittering in the sun. She looked like money. Old money. Diane, Richard said weakly. She surveyed the scene. Coast Guard officers, marina security, her husband looking guilty, my wife in an aquarium volunteer shirt holding divorce papers. Me, the wronged husband, calm as a bomb. Would someone like to explain why the Coast Guard is at our boat? Her voice could have frozen the harbor. I stepped forward helpfully. Mrs. Hartwell? I'm Paul Rodriguez. This is my wife, Lisa. Well, soon-to-be ex-wife. She's been volunteering on your yacht on Saturdays. Funny thing is, she told me she was volunteering at the aquarium. Diane Hartwell's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, understanding, rage. She threw her champagne in Richard's face. Every Saturday you're golfing? She screamed. The crowd loved it. Phones came out openly now. Someone was definitely live streaming. Diane, let me explain. Richard sputtered, champagne dripping from his silver hair. Explain? Explain? She grabbed a boat hook from a nearby yacht. A Coast Guard officer quickly stepped between them. Ma'am, please calm down. Let's handle this civilly. Civilly? Civilly. She rounded on Lisa. You little... Okay, that's enough, another officer said. Everyone needs to separate. Now. Lisa stood there, divorce papers clutched in her hand, aquarium shirt stained with sweat, volunteer badge still clipped to her belt like a scarlet letter. Her careful Saturday lie unraveling in front of Miami's yacht club elite. 4 months, Diane Hartwell said, her voice deadly quiet now. 4 months of Saturdays. In my bed? On my boat? Diane, Richard started. Shut up. Just shut up. She turned to the Coast Guard officer. I want him off my boat. It's in my name too, and I want him banned from it. Ma'am, we can't. Then I'm calling my lawyer. He's here actually. 3 boats down. Marcus! She screamed down the dock. Marcus! Get over here! The scene was deteriorating into pure chaos. More marina members had emerged from their boats, weekend cocktails in hand, watching the show. Someone had called the local news. I could see a van pulling up in the parking lot. I walked over to Lisa, who stood frozen like a deer in headlights. 4 months, I said quietly, just for her. Every Saturday. The otters were so playful today. We had a birthday party in the tide pool. Can't wait to see the new seahorses. How many lies, Lisa? How many times did you come home and tell me and Emma about your day at the aquarium? Tears were running down her face now, the first real emotion I'd seen. Paul, Save it for the lawyer, I said. Emma's at her sleepover until 5. You have until then to pack a bag and find somewhere else to stay. You can't kick me out of my own house. Watch me. Or stay and explain to our 7-year-old why mommy doesn't really work at the aquarium. Your choice. I turned to leave, then remembered something. Reached out and unclipped her volunteer badge. The aquarium wants this back. You're giving them a bad name. The walk back to my truck felt like a mile. Behind me, the drama continued. Diane Hartwell screaming at Richard. Marina security trying to restore order. Coast Guard officers taking statements. News crew setting up for a story about yacht love triangle exposed by Coast Guard. My phone was already buzzing. Emma's sleepover mom had seen something on Facebook. My brother texting, "You okay?" My business partner sending a news link. I sat in my truck, air conditioning blasting, and finally let myself feel it. 12 years, a house, a child, a life built on Saturday lies, but also relief. Because now I knew. The wondering was over. The gaslighting was done. The performance could end. I drove home to an empty house that still smelled like Lisa's vanilla shampoo and strong coffee. Walked through rooms full of family photos that now felt like evidence. Started making a list of things to do. Lawyer, custody arrangement, therapy for Emma, therapy for me, STD test. Jesus, I needed an STD test. At 4 p.m., right on schedule, my phone buzzed. Lisa, I'm at my sister's. We need to talk. Nothing to talk about. Lawyer will be in touch Monday. Paul, please. It's not what you think. I actually laughed. What do I think, Lisa? That you've been screwing an investment banker on his yacht every Saturday for 4 months while telling me and our daughter you were volunteering at the aquarium? Because that's exactly what I think. It wasn't just about sex. Oh, good. That makes it better. I'm sorry. No. You're sorry you got caught. I blocked her number. Then unblocked it because we had a kid together. Then muted it because I couldn't deal with her right now. Emma came home at 5:30, full of sleepover stories and pancake sugar. I ordered pizza, and we watched Moana for the 100th time. She didn't ask where Mommy was. Lisa often worked late on Saturdays, catching up from her volunteer day. Daddy, Emma said as I tucked her in, did Mommy really feed the fish at the aquarium? My heart broke a little more. I don't know, baby. I don't think so. Oh! She processed this with 7-year-old logic. Maybe she fed different fish. On a boat? Kids know more than we think they do. Maybe, I said. Sweet dreams, princess. By Monday, the story had gone viral. Marina mistress exposed by suspicious spouse. Coast Guard catches cheating couple. Fake volunteers' 4-month affair revealed. Someone had edited together all the phone footage into a compelling narrative. Richard Hartwell's investment firm was in damage control mode. The marina had released a statement about reviewing their guest policies. The Marine Discovery Aquarium, mortified at being dragged into the scandal, released their own statement. Lisa Rodriguez has not been an active volunteer with our organization since January. We do not condone using our institution as cover for personal activities. They also added, we're grateful to Paul Rodriguez for his concern about our reputation. That actually made me smile. The divorce was surprisingly straightforward. Lisa didn't contest it, couldn't really, with half of Miami's yacht club as witnesses to her affair. We agreed on joint custody, though Emma would primarily stay with me. The house would be sold, profits split. Clean break. I don't know why I did it, Lisa said at our final meeting, signing papers in a conference room that smelled like leather and broken promises. He made me feel. I don't care, I said, and meant it. Just be a good mother to Emma. That's all I ask. She nodded, tears smudging her mascara. The same mascara she'd worn to bed that last Friday night, playing the perfect wife while planning her Saturday yacht excursion. 6 months later, I was actually volunteering at the Marine Discovery Aquarium. Started as a joke, maybe, or a way to reclaim the narrative. But I liked it. The kids loved seeing a real engineer explain how the filtration systems worked. Emma beamed with pride when her class visited again. My daddy really does volunteer here, she told her friends. He knows all about the pumps and filters that keep the fish healthy. That's so cool, Sophia said. Does he know any fish names? He's learning, Emma said loyally. I was at the touch tank one Saturday when I heard a familiar voice. And this is where the volunteers work with the children. Lisa stood frozen at the edge of the group tour, face pale. She was with a man I didn't recognize. New boyfriend, probably. Good for her. Paul, she said. Lisa? I nodded politely. Enjoying the tour? We were just. The sea urchins are particularly active today, I said, turning back to the kids. Who wants to touch one? She left quickly after that, but not before I heard her companion ask, Isn't that the guy from that viral video? The yacht thing? Yes. Yes, I was. The guy who called the Coast Guard on his cheating wife and served divorce papers in front of a crowd. The guy who exposed the Saturday lie. The guy who turned a private heartbreak into a public spectacle. But also, the guy who actually showed up to volunteer. The guy who helped his daughter with homework. The guy who learned to cook for 2 instead of 3. The guy who survived. Mr. Paul. A little boy tugged on my volunteer shirt. Can you show us the water pumps again? Sure thing, buddy. Let's go see how we keep the fish happy. The aquarium smelled like salt water and possibility. Somewhere in the harbor, rich people were probably cheating on their spouses on expensive boats. But here, in this place of glass and water and wonder, kids were learning about the ocean. Families were making memories. And one divorced engineer was exactly where he was supposed to be on a Saturday afternoon. Volunteering. Actually volunteering. The Marina Discovery story became something of a legend in Miami. Boat owners joked about checking for unauthorized crew. The Coast Guard used it as a training example titled, When Domestic Disputes Meet Maritime Law. Richard Hartwell's wife took him for half of everything, including the yacht. She renamed it First Chance and started a sailing club for divorced women. Lisa tried online dating, but the first Google result for her name was Yacht Mistress Exposed by Coast Guard. She eventually moved to Orlando, where the scandal had less reach. We worked out a decent co-parenting schedule. Emma adapted as kids do. And the volunteer badge? I had it framed, hung it in my home office next to my engineering degrees and business certifications. A reminder that sometimes the truth is worth more than a comfortable lie. That trust, once broken, becomes something else entirely. Evidence. The security guard at Pelican Bay Marina still recognized me months later when I attended a client's party there. Mr. Rodriguez, how's the aquarium? Great, I said. The fish are doing well. He laughed. And your wife? No idea. But my ex-wife is someone else's problem now. Man, that was something. Never seen anything like it. My kid wants to join the Coast Guard now because of that video. Tell him they're hiring, I said. Good people. They really came through when I needed them. That was the thing about the whole mess. It could have been handled quietly. A private investigator, a confrontation at home, a quiet divorce. But Lisa had worn that aquarium shirt, had carried that volunteer badge, had dragged a good organization into her lies. So I'd made it public, called the authorities. Let the truth play out in the harsh light of a Saturday afternoon. Because sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you have to stand on a dock with divorce papers while your wife's lover gets champagne thrown in his face. Sometimes you have to let the Coast Guard do their job. Sometimes you have to trust that the truth, messy and painful and public as it might be, is better than another Saturday lie. Emma and I go to the aquarium every few weeks now. She knows the Latin names for half the fish. Wants to be a marine biologist, or an engineer, or both. Daddy, she asked once, do you miss Mommy? I miss who I thought she was, I said honestly. But I don't miss the lies. She thought about this with the devastating clarity of childhood. Like when she said she was feeding fish but was really on a boat. Exactly like that. I like that you really feed the fish now, she said, even if you don't know all their names yet. I'm learning, I promised. And I was. Learning to trust again. Learning to be a single parent. Learning that sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is simply tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Even if where they fall is all over the dock at Pelican Bay Marina, captured on 17 different cell phones and shared across the internet. The Coast Guard report, obtained through a Freedom of Information request by a local news station, became required reading at maritime law seminars. The section about civilian reporting of suspected unauthorized vessel usage was particularly noted. But the line that stuck with me was simpler. Reporting party appeared calm and prepared, having already obtained legal documents for service upon confirmation of suspected marital infidelity. Calm and prepared. That was me. The engineer who solved problems, even when the problem was a marriage built on Saturday lies. Lisa sent me a letter once, 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Long, handwritten, full of explanations and apologies and attempts at insight. I read it once, then filed it with the divorce papers. Not out of anger anymore, but because it was just paperwork now. Documentation of something that used to be. The only part that mattered was near the end. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve forgiveness. But thank you for making me face the truth, even if the way you did it was humiliating. I was drowning in lies, and you threw me a life preserver made of divorce papers. She wasn't wrong, but she wasn't right either. I hadn't thrown her anything. I just stopped letting her drag me under with her. The last time I saw Richard Hartwell was at a business conference downtown. He tried to avoid me, but we ended up in the same elevator. Paul, he said stiffly. Richard. 30 floors of silence. Then, as the doors opened at his floor, I'm sorry, for what it's worth. It's worth nothing, I said. But thanks for saying it. He left quickly. I rode up to my floor thinking about worth. What was 4 months of Saturdays worth? What was 12 years of marriage worth? What was the truth worth? Turns out the truth was worth everything. My brother, who'd flown down from Atlanta when the story broke, had asked me why I'd done it so publicly. Why not private investigators? Why not quiet confrontation? Because she made it public first, I'd explained. Every time she wore that shirt, every time she lied about the aquarium, every time she came home with stories about sea otters and birthday parties, she involved the aquarium, so I involved the authorities. But the Coast Guard? He'd laughed despite himself. That's next level. She was on a boat she didn't own with a man who wasn't her husband. What else was I supposed to do? I don't know. But calling in the Coast Guard is definitely going in the family history books. It was too. At family gatherings, it became known as Paul's Maritime Moment or the Great Yacht Bust. My cousin's kids thought I was some kind of detective superhero who used the Coast Guard to catch bad guys. Uncle Paul, tell us about the boat chase again. It wasn't really a chase. Did they have guns? The Coast Guard? Yes, but they didn't use them. Did Aunt Lisa have to walk the plank? That's not how divorce works. But I'd tell them the age-appropriate version. About how sometimes people lie, and sometimes the truth comes out in unexpected ways. About how it's important to be where you say you'll be. About how the Coast Guard helps with all kinds of problems, not just pirates. Emma, listening to these retellings, would always add her own editorial. And now Daddy really does volunteer at the aquarium. He shows me the pumps every time we go. That was the part that mattered, not the viral videos or the maritime law seminars or the family legend. But that Emma knew where I was on Saturdays. Actually knew. Could verify it. Could point to the volunteer board and see my name. Could watch me explain filtration systems to tourists. The truth. Simple, boring, verifiable truth. 1 year after the dock incident, the Marine Discovery Aquarium held their annual volunteer appreciation dinner. I hadn't planned to go, but Dolores from the front desk insisted. "You've become one of our best volunteers," she said. "And after everything, well, we want to show our appreciation." So I went. Wore a suit. Sat at a table with other Saturday volunteers who all knew my story, but were too polite to mention it. Until the wine started flowing. "So, Paul," Martha from the touch tank finally said, "do you ever regret how it all went down? The whole Coast Guard thing?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. I regret that it happened at all. I regret that my daughter's mother lied to us for months. But I don't regret how I handled it. Even with it going viral? Especially with it going viral. Lisa made her choice 16 times. Every Saturday for 4 months. I made mine once, and I'd make it again. They toasted that. These people who actually showed up when they said they would. Who actually fed fish and cleaned tanks and taught children about ocean conservation. Who understood that a volunteer shirt meant something. That a badge meant something. That showing up meant something. The aquarium director gave a speech about commitment and community. When she mentioned that volunteer hours had actually increased since the incident, everyone carefully didn't look at me. But when she announced that they were implementing new background checks and verification procedures for volunteers, there was a smattering of applause. "We want to ensure that when someone says they volunteer here, they actually do," she said. "Our reputation matters. Our community matters. The truth matters." I applauded with everyone else, thinking about unintended consequences. How one lie had led to institutional change. How one yacht ride had led to new policies. How one phone call had led to this. "And now," the director continued, "I'd like to give a special recognition award to someone who exemplifies what it means to be a true volunteer. Someone who not only shows up, but goes above and beyond. Someone who turned a difficult situation into an opportunity to serve." Paul Rodriguez, Would you come up here? I froze. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to be the invisible volunteer, quietly doing penance for my public drama. But Emma, who I'd brought as my plus one, was already pushing me out of my chair. Go, Daddy! Get your award! So I went. Accepted a small plaque that read, Volunteer of the Year for Exceptional Service and Integrity. Shook hands. Smiled for photos that would definitely end up online with inevitable captions about the irony. Say something, the director whispered. I looked out at the audience. Volunteers who gave their Saturdays. Staff who dedicated their careers to education. My daughter, beaming with pride in her party dress. I'm just happy to be here, I said. Actually here, every Saturday, feeding actual fish, teaching actual children, being an actual volunteer. It's not complicated. You show up where you say you'll be. You do what you say you'll do. You tell the truth. Even when, especially when, the truth involves calling the Coast Guard. They laughed. They applauded. And for the first time since that awful Thursday at the aquarium, I felt like maybe the story had found its proper ending. After the dinner, Dolores found me in the parking lot. I never thanked you, she said. For what? For caring about our reputation. When you found out Lisa was lying about volunteering here, you could have just let it go. But you stood up for us. Made sure people knew we weren't part of whatever that was. It was an affair, I said simply. A 4-month affair disguised as volunteer work. Still, you protected us. That means something. It did mean something. More than I'd realized at the time. In my fury and hurt, I'd still thought to defend the aquarium. To make clear they were victims too. To ensure their good work wasn't tarnished by Lisa's lies. You're welcome, I said. And thank you for telling me the truth that day, even though it hurt. Honey, at my age, the truth is all we've got left. That and our volunteer hours. Emma fell asleep in the car on the way home, clutching my volunteer award. I carried her inside, tucked her in, stood in her doorway watching her sleep. This beautiful, resilient child who'd weathered her parents' breakup with grace I couldn't fathom. She'd started telling people, my parents are divorced, but they both love me. Simple. True. No elaborate stories needed. I went to my home office, placed the award on the shelf next to the framed volunteer badge. Proof of service. Evidence of truth. Redemption in acrylic and brass. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the award. You deserve it. L. I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Some conversations were over. Some stories were done. Some Saturdays belonged to the past. The next morning, Emma and I made pancakes. She insisted on shapes, stars, and hearts, and lopsided fish. Daddy, do you think the fish at the aquarium miss us when we're not there? Maybe, but they know we'll be back. Every Saturday? Every Saturday I volunteer. And you really volunteer now, not pretend volunteer. Really volunteer. You can check the schedule and everything. She nodded, satisfied. Good. Because I told Sophia's mom you could show her the pumps next week. Did you? Yep. She said it's nice to meet a man who actually shows up where he says he'll be. I flipped a pancake, smiled at the ceiling. Yeah, it is nice, isn't it? Super nice. Can I have another fish pancake? Sure thing, kiddo. We spent the morning making increasingly elaborate pancake shapes, talking about everything and nothing. She didn't mention her mother. I didn't mention the award. We just existed in our Saturday morning routine, real and true and verified by multiple sources. Later, at the grocery store, we ran into one of the yacht club members from that fateful day. Paul, how are you? Still volunteering at the aquarium? Every other Saturday, I confirmed. Good for you. You know that whole thing you did? With the Coast Guard? My wife made me install a boat tracker app after that. Says she wants to know where I am at all times now. That's good? He laughed. It is, actually. Keeps everyone honest. We call it the Rodriguez Protocol at the marina. Emma piped up. My daddy made a protocol. He sure did, sweetie, the trust but verify protocol. After he left, Emma asked, What's a protocol? It's like a rule or a system for doing things. Oh, is it a good protocol? I think so. It means being honest about where you are. Like how you're honest about volunteering? Exactly like that. She thought about this as we loaded groceries. Then, I like your protocol, Daddy. Can we get ice cream? Sure, but we're honestly getting ice cream. No pretending it's vegetables. She giggled. That would be silly. Ice cream is ice cream. Yes. Yes, it was. Ice cream was ice cream. Volunteering was volunteering. Marriage was marriage. And lies were lies, no matter what uniform they wore. The sun was setting by the time we got home, painting the Miami sky in shades of pink and gold. Emma ran inside with her ice cream, leaving me to carry the groceries. I stood for a moment in the driveway, looking at this life I'd rebuilt. Smaller than before. Quieter, but honest. My phone rang. The aquarium. Paul? It's Dolores. Sorry to bother you on a Saturday, but would you be able to pick up an extra shift next week? We have a school group coming and could use someone who actually knows how the systems work. Sure, I said. Which day? Saturday. I know it's not your usual week, but Saturday's perfect, I said. I'll be there. Wonderful. Oh, and Paul, bring Emma if you'd like. The kids always love having other children around. Will do. See you Saturday. See you Saturday. And Paul, thanks for being someone we can count on. I hung up, carried the groceries inside, found Emma building a fort in the living room with couch cushions. Hey, kiddo, want to come to the aquarium with me next Saturday? Extra volunteer day. Her face lit up. Really? Can I help feed the fish? We'll see what they need help with. Okay. I'm going to make a list of all the fish I want to see. She ran off to find paper and crayons. I put away groceries, thinking about lists, about checking them twice, about verification and trust, and the small acts of showing up that rebuilt a life. Somewhere in Miami, boats were heading back to harbor. Restaurants were filling up with Saturday night crowds. Couples were lying to each other in 1,000 different ways. But in this house, in this moment, everything was exactly what it seemed. A father putting away groceries, a daughter making lists of fish. A volunteer shift that would actually happen. Small truths, but truths nonetheless. My phone buzzed. Emma's teacher, sending photos from a class project about ocean animals. Emma had written about the aquarium, about how her daddy volunteered there, about how the filters kept the water clean for the fish. She'd drawn a picture of us at the touch tank, stick figures but recognizable, both wearing volunteer badges. At the bottom, in her careful 7-year-old handwriting, my daddy is at the aquarium every other Saturday. You can check if you want. He's really there. Really there. The highest praise a 7-year-old could give. Better than any award, any viral video fame, any maritime law precedent. I was really there. And next Saturday, I'd be there again. With my daughter. In volunteer shirts that meant what they said. Feeding fish that actually existed. Teaching children about systems that actually worked. No yachts, no lies, no Coast Guard necessary. Just truth. served simply, one Saturday at a time.